What is going on, everybody? Happy, what are we at now? It's Wednesday, I guess. Happy Wednesday. We had a fun night of basketball, even though it wasn't profitable for me. It was a terrible night of baseball for me. It sounds like it was the same for Sheets, but we're ready to get back after it today. Sheets, any sort of first thoughts on this slate, or do you want to touch on anything last night?
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about last night being just an incredible night for basketball in general. Just insane close games and cream rising to the top and some kind of just memorable highlight reels for on many different levels. So good for that. With respect to DFS, baseball, it was, it was so funny. I was, as the slate was winding down, I was like, is this the time where I just come right out and say, this is the day where I literally got everything wrong, right? And then I'm like, you know what? The thing that we got right, well, actually you more than me, because I was more on the Coors stuff, especially on FanDuel, than you were, right? So that was my thing. I should have taken it. I should have taken it as a sign when my little sneaky two-man got scratched for smoke inhalation. You know what I mean? Like I was going to play a little San Francisco, and when that got scratched, even I'm like, ooh, maybe that's like a bad sign. So I mean, Bobby, you got 100% right about Coors being a bust, and you feel like you're supposed to get paid if you have that take and nobody scores from that game. And we were all over Buxton. I would say all over. We were into Buxton at 2,600, and he had a home run. But, you know, we were, at least I was, you know, dead wrong on the freaking Arizona, right? I mean, again, we say wrong or right regarding results, right? I mean, they happen to have scored just a shitload of runs, right? Yeah. But the thing I want to take a little bit of responsibility for real is that I really think, I don't want to say we, because you could speak for yourself. I think it was an incredible misstep and error to not play the Yankees. And the reason I say it is not because they scored 19 runs, right? But because when we were doing the review, I even said, listen, this Yankees, it's really important to stay on top of this, okay? If they get 100% their terrible lineup, okay, I'll look at it. But you gotta watch this. And you know what, Bobby? I never even took another look at him after that, and that was on me. I think that look, I only played like a couple lineups, but I still think that if I played 10 or even 15, that one or two should have had Yankees in it. So that's the one thing that I really do a mea culpa for.
Yeah, I felt very similar to you on that particular one, because we did. I mean, the first thing we mentioned on the show was the first game. I was saying, look, I mentioned that I like the Yankee stack. I don't know if I'm going to end up getting them in, but I really think if I get multiple lineups, I have to play at least some Yankee stack, especially if it's a good lineup. And just even getting Stanton back in there makes you feel good about it. And look, I said I was going to stack or fade it, but I just ended up fading, and it's a shame. It's one of those things. If we could go back, we could have won a bunch of money, but we got to move on to today, and we're going to have the same conversation, I guess, because we're going to start off with that game. Actually, let's you can bring your screen up whenever you want.
Yeah, sure about that.
You don't mind. I mean, as long as you want to. If not,
no, it's fine by me. But hey, I'm not. I'll share what I got because nobody wants to see what I got after.
No.
Actually, then again, I haven't actually built a single lineup yet for the main. I was too busy. DJing the early slate on FanDuel, so I have to worry about that in a few minutes. Okay. So first game, Toronto Yankees. Let's just get right into it. I presume that Cole's the best pitcher of the day.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I would have him one. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So we're gonna build that right there, and it kind of goes against my little thing that sticks in my craw that I would rather him be 100 higher. maybe get ownership down a little bit, but that's pretty specious. That whole argument. It's gonna be 50% owned, which is fine. I mean, honestly, I think that it's just a perfect situation. His price is it's like almost ridiculous if you think about it, considering his strikeout upside. Yeah, he's given up home runs. He's given up, he's not been great. You want to know the truth. But you know what? The fact is that he's still going to be my favorite pitcher. And that's that. I'm not going to get to any of the Tanner Roark on the other side of this game. And at first look, it looks like the Yankees are playable again. I like Hicks. I like Tauchman if he gets in. Again, I got to watch the lineup. I gotta see who's in. You know what I mean? But they didn't. I mean, I'm looking right now that they're not actually popping as like my favorite team. Mm-hmm. But they certainly look okay.
They're not my favorite team. And look, hey, we could always use the justification. They just scored 20 runs, so we don't want to play them as much.
That's true too.
It is interesting that the run total is not a little bit higher to me. I just want to, I know I get on these things, but because it doesn't really make a lot of sense. The Yankees have been unbelievable at home hitting this year. Unbelievable. And one thing I've been doing some research on this morning, and I thought was interesting, I actually tweeted it out. Teams with a 50% that are 500 or better are about 30% better at home this year than they've been on the average over the past 10 years, which is kind of crazy. All teams. I mean, I'm talking about all of the league, and especially in terms of runs scored. Like the biggest example is like the Twins. I think are for example, the Twins are 21-5 at home and 9-15 on the road, scoring almost 2 more runs at home a game than they are on the road. That's pretty incredible. And there's not I don't entirely understand it, but it's just interesting. Yankees also have been one of those teams. So I like the Yankees. That they're expensive. They're hard to get in with the pitchers that I like. I don't know if they're going to score 20 runs again. I don't see that happening. I also don't know who's going to be in their lineup, so I kind of want to see what happens there. But, you know, the obvious play would be Hicks. The price is right. I think he's going to be really popular, and he's the sort of go-to. This, you know, the Garden or the Tauchman as part of the stacks are nice, cheap ways to get there. I like Gleyber, Frazier, and Urshela just fine. I love Voit in general. I think Voit is actually – he's like the only Yankee that ever shows up on my one-off other than Hicks. And it's just because of the immense power. I mean, obviously he had 2 home runs last time, so it's easy to say that, but he had 2 home runs a couple games before that too. He's just got massive power. So yeah, all these guys are good. I don't have them as my number 1 stack. I think I could probably get 1 stack with them in, which I'm going to do, but I don't think it's going to be my number 1 tonight. And also I think the popularity is going to be pretty high. Although, are people really going to end up paying $5,500 for LeMahieu? We'll see.
Yeah. All right. Mets, Philly. I ask this every single time, and I guess it's no accident because everybody's kind of on the same cycle. But DeGrom always pitches when Cole pitches, right? It just always seems that way. And I always ask you the same question. I mean, what kind of ownership discount would you need on DeGrom as opposed to Cole to have you pay for what's obviously a weaker value, you know what I mean, in DeGrom? I mean, his matchup is worse. It's all a little bit worse.
I don't know if it is.
Both have ceilings, right? I mean, like they could both. I mean, DeGrom could put 40 fantasy points up. It's fine. He'd always do that. But what kind of ownership discount would you need? I don't think you're going to get it enough of it. But I just feel as though I always have to ask that of you.
I don't see a reason to not play both these guys on DraftKings everywhere. I honestly don't. And I think you could argue that DeGrom might even have a better matchup tonight because this is a really watered-down Phillies lineup. We have no Hoskins. We have no Real Muto. You've got an Adam Hazley and a Roman Quinn and a Scott Kingery and even though I like Bohm for the future, like, I mean, he's still a young guy who's not going to, not going to scare me. Andrew Knapp is catching now. I mean, there's a lot of weak spots in this lineup. Sure, you've got contact guys like Segura and Bryce Harper obviously can hit one out. McCutchen and Gregorius are okay, but that's really like two really good hitter or two good hitter, one great hitter, 2 good hitters, and 1 mediocre, and then 5 really like whatever spots. And for DeGrom, that shouldn't be any problem. I like both these guys. I really don't see the reason, because there's value out there, even though it's not my favorite value. It's good enough for me to just play these 2 guys and just try to, see if I can get 60 points out of my pitchers tonight.
All right, we're gonna see if we can make that work. Okay.
Literally, I've been building this morning, and it's all I can do.
That's amazing. I'm really excited about this because now I'm going to be able to talk about some of these guys that I was going to talk about, these value guys. I wasn't going to do this. So this is cool because if I could do this, sure, that's great. So this could end up being a fun slate. Boy, you like DeGrom that much more than Giolito, huh?
Yeah, I don't like I don't like the matchup for Giolito as much, and I don't like the umpire either. We do have the umpire data because it's a Wednesday, so he's got the worst umpire on the slate.
Is that true? Okay. You made a good point, by the way. I mean, Philly. I mean, I forgot about that. That Hoskins is out. Real Muto is out, right? Is he out, Real Muto?
Yeah.
I'm actually day to day. I don't know. Oh, he remains on Tuesday, whatever.
I expect him to be out. I haven't projected his out. So if he's in, obviously it might improve their lineup a little bit, but I still am not going to be afraid to play DeGrom.
Yeah, so this is going to be fun then, because this is one build. I really didn't need – whenever I see 2 guys that take up $20,000, I'm like, all right, I just can't do it. but maybe we can. So
I actually think that I could argue that they're both way too cheap, like for the way things are going. I mean, if people were playing you and Carrasco yesterday, you're getting so much better like floors and ceilings out of these guys. So
did they? Did people play them?
People played them not a ton, but they played them a little bit. Okay. They didn't. By the way, nobody played Matt Boyd, and he actually.
I don't know how.
He almost really got there for us on FanDuel because that would have been a really. I mean, we needed more from the lineup, but that was definitely the pitcher who could have done it for us anyway.
I have to tell you I've said this before. The ownership projections across the industry in baseball are pretty weak. I have to say. I mean, relative to what actually shows up on the board. I mean, I'm telling you, there were places that I looked at that had Boyd at 40% ownership. And I was like trying to come up with excuses to fade him because I was presuming a 40% ownership. I ended up playing like 50% of him on DraftKings and 50% of them on FanDuel, and felt a little bit dirty doing it. And then when the numbers came out, like on FanDuel, he was what, 10%? I mean,
8%.
Yeah, it's I don't know what to think.
Yeah, it was a little bit. I was a little bit surprised as well. But then again, the chalky your Quiddy got there and all that. So whatever.
Yeah.
All right.
You like any of the hitting from this game at all?
No. I just want to mention that DeGrom has like he has a serious ownership over everyone in this lineup except for Bryce Harper, and even that is fine. He still strikes him out 33% of the time. But I mean, in 140 plate appearances, they're hitting 117 off of him. They struck out 52 times. They've got like almost a 38% K rate, it is, I guess. 13 walks and 144. Like, this is a really, really good spot. I'm starting to think DeGrom might actually be the better play than Cole. He's also just been a better pitcher this year than Cole has been.
Well, so KC Detroit brings up okay, so let's talk about this. So I mean, this would be my logical segue from that last game, right? So if we're going to do this, like Cole and DeGrom, we could certainly talk about game stacking Kansas City Detroit. No, I mean, you got value coming out of this game. So we're going to get to that. The first thing I will say is from a pitching perspective, I'm not going to get to him, I don't think, but it's possible. I mean, it's possible I get to Brady Singer in some variations. If you don't pay up and you don't pay down for the very chalky mid-range guy we'll get to later, Brady Singer is definitely on my list of guys to consider. I'll just say that, and I will tell you this: that the Scooble is kind of on my list also. If you want to do that, I don't think I'm going to do that. But if you wanted to pay down because you've got big hitters to pay up for, I think that. You know what it brings up, Bobby? Something I asked you, I must have been 20 times over the course of the last 2 or 3 years, is when you have situations where you have kind of weak pitchers and kind of weak hitters, right? Do you take the weak pitcher? You know what I mean? Do you take the pitchers against the weak hitters or the weak hitters against the pitchers? And the answer is usually, well, who's going to be the chalkier of the variations, right? So I don't know where ownership's going to come in on these guys, but I think that the hitting is certainly kind of filled with value depending on who gets in the lineup, right? So I don't know who's getting in, but I hate to say this, but Cabrera, Candelario, kind of the normal guys actually are looking not so bad. This Bonifacio, he gets in at 2K, and then you play the good guys like Goodrum, the good guys. If you're good, you're not playing in Detroit, I guess. But Goodrum. And that's one way to go. And then if you want to play Kansas City, yeah, I mean, why not? You go right back to Mondesi again, Bubba Starling. Who else is Gutierrez getting in? Oliveira's 2,100, and then you can go with the good guys. You know, you could throw in who else? Merrifield.
Yeah. I mean, it's certainly something to do. Like it's on my list.
This isn't going to be your idea. That's so interesting. Okay.
No, because I don't think this is the only spot. I actually don't think the value is that exceptional. And these are not like exceptionally powerful guys that I would rather take like, I'd rather even play DJ Stewart in a lefty-lefty matchup when he's been hot, who's shown some power, you know what I mean? Or something like that. Yeah. But I mean, Oliveira has got enough to where you could justify him. Bonifacio doesn't really have a ton of power. I mean, it's enough to where you could play these guys, and definitely in stacks. I totally agree. I don't mind, especially the KC side of the stack. That's the side I would lean towards. But I personally was thinking of doing something else, but I'm definitely open to, I have KC written here as on my list. It's harder for me to figure out how I want to stack Detroit. Just because these guys, like, it's just an ugly lineup. I mean, I like Goodrum a bit, and Victor Reyes is fine, but like that's not even like you're not even getting real savings. I don't know. I think Goodrum would be my preferred guy, but I don't think I'm going to end up stacking Detroit. I think I'm more likely to stack against the bad Detroit bullpen, and I like Singer personally. Maybe that's partly why.
Oh, good. Okay.
I don't know that I'll play him because I told you I don't know if I need to do any different builds at all. But the fact that this guy just threw an absolute gem in Cleveland, and no one's going to play him, and he's 60, or I don't know, people actually will play him, but he's 6,200. And the projections, I don't understand what happened this year with projections sheets. I really don't. I don't know why pitchers don't have any realistic projections at all. And I haven't seen them good across most of the industry. But I do think Brady Singer is definitely.
You just think they're basically all too low across the board, right?
It's bizarre. It doesn't make any sense. Like nobody should be projected. A starting pitcher who's supposed to pitch 5+ innings should never be projected for 8 fantasy points.
Right. Exactly.
It doesn't make any sense. It's almost impossible to do, actually.
Well, because you know what they do. I mean, it depends on where you're looking. But if they go like with like a median projection, for example, or even an average one, it might end up being like an 8 because they're going to get some -2s and -3s or whatever, and then they're going to get some 16s and 17s. Yeah. But it's just not representative of what's actually going to show up in the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I also think it's worth noting about Brady Singer, just another thing, and maybe a notch in his why you should play him. If you look at the matchups he's had this year, you go back, even he had a good game against Cleveland, who's a tough lineup. I mean, but you have the White Sox twice before that, Minnesota 3 times in a row before that. That's crazy. He had at the Cubs, who are a patient team, and then he had Detroit once, and then he had Cleveland. So basically, he's only had like one soft matchup the entire season. So this is definitely a huge upgrade against this Detroit team. I could be talking to some Singer for sure.
No Scooble.
Not for me. I sort of like some of these KC guys against lefties. My preferred guys in the lineup. I don't know how much I'll get to them because again, I have a pretty narrow stack of what I want to do, and it's a little stubborn. But Olivares, Mondesi, Dozier, and Merrifield would be the guys. Probably Dozier would be my number one. Franco's okay, but he's getting a little bit pricey. I'd rather play Dozier.
Cool.
Ready to go on?
Yeah, I am. Is this the correct starting pitcher for the Atlanta Braves?
That's correct.
That is, I mean, I gotta give him a standing ovation. I mean, like, good for him. What is it? 80? That's awesome. I honestly didn't know he was still playing. Is he off for like a full year or two or something?
He's been off for a while. He hasn't played this year, but I don't know. I don't remember the last time he pitched. I think he ended up pitching last year somewhere, but I can't remember. I honestly don't remember exactly. He has had a crazy, long career. He's not the same pitcher he was anymore. Actually, let me pull up his stuff right now from last year.
But I didn't even know he pitched last year.
Yeah, he's. I'm pretty sure he did. I'll double check, but yeah. I mean, I don't think we can expect him to pitch very long anyway. We've seen how questionable that Atlanta bullpen's been. I mean, I like this whole game on both sides. This is what I'm thinking, and that's sort of my hard to get away from. Just that I really like this game.
I agree with that. So I'll let you take it away in a second. But I'll just highlight the guys that are rating the best for me. Again, I don't know. I mean, a couple of them are kind of expensive actually, but I like Ozuna, your Albies. Maybe you'll hit 10th today. Ozuna, Albies, Swanson's on the expensive side, but Duvall's always all right, 4,300. Freeman. That's the thing about the Braves side is that the guys are kind of tough to get in.
You're suffering with the Braves.
Sorry about that.
But the Baltimore side, as you were kind of alluding to earlier, I mean the same dudes. I mean DJ Stewart, Mountcastle. And then even if you don't want to do that, you can also play Austin Hayes at 2,300. So those are actually my 3. Well, I guess you have to put Mullins in the mix again. So yeah, I guess you're right. And this would be an interesting. Yeah, I think you're right. I think you got to do this.
Yeah, I'm interested in it. So I would rate my Baltimore exposure with Alberto, Mountcastle, Severino, then probably DJ Stewart for the savings, or Valleca, probably I mean, we'll see who's in the lineup. I'm not even 100% sure if DJ Stewart will make the lineup today. But we'll see. We'll just see how it shakes out, because it wouldn't be surprising if like somehow Austin Hayes was like leading off or batting third or something. I don't know, something. They do weird things in over there. But Nunez, I mean, all these guys make a lot of sense. They're a little better against lefties. Hamels hasn't pitched much. I don't expect him to go long. Lousy Atlanta bullpen that, even though we say that bullpen shouldn't be taxed, they've got to be a little bit taxed from just how much work they've gone through over the last week. And I like this, and I sort of like it as I mean, again, I like the Atlanta stack, and I like the bottom of it. I like it, 5 through 9, probably. I would include one of the earlier guys. I don't mind ever Freddie Freeman and lefty. I don't mind. I mean, I love Acuna. It's just expensive. I think that I would just, because of that, maybe side a little bit more with Ozuna, who's basically been the same player as Acuna this year. They've been pretty similar production-wise, but Acuna's the much better hitter overall. Just Ozuna's having a fantastic season. But Duvall always has been really good against lefties, so he would be a high priority. Austin Riley. You're going to mostly end up finding yourself saving in the outfield, although you can use Valleca at second base or something like that. But because of that, you might want to try. Like, I'm finding myself playing a little bit more of the Atlanta infield, and I think you might get like Austin Riley, Dansby Swanson, one of Darno or Flowers, and you can do it with some of the savings on the other side, and then you can play the two top pitchers, and it actually works out.
Yeah, the only issue I shouldn't even think about doing this, but a lot of the guys that we mentioned are all in the outfield. So like those Atlanta guys that we like are in the outfield, as are the I don't say the better of but the cheaper of the values of the Baltimore guys. So
right.
You're gonna have to. Well, you know what you could do. You say that you're stubborn, but you know what? Stubbornness can actually pay off in a situation like this, because like if you like commit to this Atlanta Baltimore thing, right? You could just basically shuffle them. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And just play multiple combinations of all these different guys. You know what I mean? So, that I love it. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, and we have this Atlanta team that's just been underperforming from the plate like the last few nights a little bit. And I think this is a great spot to just stay on them. I think they're going to be popular, but I'm okay with it. And yeah, that's sort of my first look, is that I really like both these guys. I still think we really do need to wait to see what the Baltimore lineup is, but definitely my favorite game so far.
Yeah, but one of them will be all right. You know what I mean? Like between Mullins, Hayes, and Stewart and Moncastle, I mean, there's going to be like 5 guys that you could pick from. You can pick 2 of those 5. Whoever gets in the lineup, you could pick 2 of them or whatever.
Yeah. And I will just mention Alberto's been the best against lefties of this group for the most part. And Severino's price might not seem great at 3.8, but he's actually been really good this year. And I wouldn't leave him out for my stacks out of too many, although he's going through a little bit of a dry spell power-wise. All right, you ready to move on to the next one?
Yeah, I do think that that Giolito's a good tournament play. I don't know if I'm going to play enough lineups to play him, but I just think that with Cole is good, and obviously it's just an elite play, and DeGrom is the natural. I don't want to see a pivot, but pairing. I mean, Giolito just remains just to have elite upside. I mean, he certainly is in a shit matchup, right? But whatever. He's certainly available to break the slate any day, and I'm not going to kill anybody for playing him. Although I'm probably not going to get any significant amount of them. And considering how many lineups I'm going to play, I don't know if I'm going to get any of them. But to say he's a bad play, I think is kind of silly. I'm not going to play Odorizzi. I don't think. I wasn't going to play Odorizzi. Let me see. I didn't really consider too much of the hitting in this game. You like any of it?
So I don't. I'm not going to end up getting to Giolito tonight. I don't like the umpire. Worst umpire on this.
There's another umpire problem. Okay, all right.
So that's part of the reason. Also, Minnesota's been really good against him for the most part, even though I know they faced him when he wasn't quite the same Giolito that he is now. I'll tell you what. It's hard to get a feeling for how long Odorizzi is going to pitch. I think it will probably be like, I don't know, 65, 75 pitches, maybe. I don't know. Maybe he just hasn't pitched in a while. So I'd be open to some of the White Sox. Like it didn't jump out at me at first. And actually I wouldn't mind if the slate was smaller and I really, didn't know what to do. I would probably consider a twin stack.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. It's so funny. I was staring at my sheet right here. And I'm keep talking about that.
Yeah, so the Twins, basically, Giolito has faced this team a bunch, and they've done a pretty good number on him overall. His problem is he can get wild at times, and the Twins are pretty patient. I mean, he walked 4 guys in the last game he pitched against Detroit. And he basically is good for like 3 walks a game, maybe even more. It just you get that vulnerable situation in a team with that much power. It doesn't take all that much to get there. Now, maybe because it's Giolito and he's so good and the strikeout rate is so high, maybe you just do a mini stack. But I think that would make some sense. And to me, that it would be pretty much the obvious guys, but I think that it would be, I would probably go Kepler. I would have Kepler and Rosario a little bit higher. I'd particularly want the lefties, and then I would go Donaldson and Cruz. That would be my favorite way of going about it.
I mean, I say this only, I'm not being sarcastic or anything like that, but do we not just play, I don't know if he's going to get in the left, do we not just play Buxton every day if he's under 3K?
I like Buck. I mean, he's on a tear right now, so yes, I think he goes through these stretches. So yeah, I would say he's a really, really good value saving play. It feels weird all the time to play him at batting 8th, and I've done it before plenty of times, but tonight for some reason it didn't jump out to me. I'm not even 100% sure he's going to be in the lineup, but I think he will be. I mean, I don't understand, like, stop playing Gabe. If he's hot, like, just leave him in the lineup. I think they should. I think they probably will.
Is Jeffers going to get into this one or no?
Probably, but I don't think that's like an ideal situation. You know what I mean? Like, maybe you could use him as a part of a 3-man or a 4-man on DraftKings, but I don't know if I want to fully stack it. But I certainly don't mind like a little mini stack. And then the White Sox side, it's almost interesting to me that their total isn't higher, and they certainly make a lot of sense. I think that, again, like I always say about them, outside of Luis Robert and maybe Encarnacion, I think that they're all plays you'd look for in a stack. But you have the best hitters umpire in baseball in this game, so maybe getting some exposure here is a pretty good idea. We still haven't seen a home run from Mazara all year long, even though he's hitting the ball a little bit better. But I'll throw that out there. Yeah, I certainly could see getting to some White Sox here. Luis Robert and Encarnacion are the only ones priced in a way where I'm probably going to play them outside of stacks.
Okay. All right, so Texas, Houston. Yeah, I don't know. I just figured it was Cole McCullers and then figure out the rest from there. So
I don't know how much McCullers is going to pitch. He's coming off of a non-start after an injury. And he got, he pitched the last game he pitched, he didn't pitch any innings because he gave up.
Well, because he got hurt and got run out of the game. I mean, like.
Yeah, and then he skipped a week and now he's back.
Well, I mean, I just read what I said I just read the DraftKings analysis. We'll do more. I mean, it says when the procedure and leaving his pain, so it's unlikely to have any limitations when he returns to the mound. I mean.
Okay. I mean, we'll see. All right, I'm okay with it. I certainly think that that's what a lot of people will do.
Yeah.
But I personally would rather pay up for the other 2 guys or sort of use the weird singer play and pick on those guys. But like Texas has been so bad. Of course, McCullers makes sense. I have no problem if you want to use him. I think it makes a lot of sense.
Dude, how about the weird Gibson play?
Not against this. I mean, look, this is the best pitchers umpire on the slate tonight. He is crazy cheap, so maybe. But do I need to do it? I don't know. I don't know.
Right. Fair enough.
I'm sort of stuck on this one because I get the McCullers thing. I'm curious to see where he ends up. If he's going to be crazy high owned.
He is going to be.
I actually don't mind, again, you can use the value Texas bats if you want to on the other side of it too. Yeah, he's going to be crazy high owned. I prefer just paying up for the other 2 guys, but.
I'll tell you this. The Houston guys look really, really good. Brantley at 3,300 looks really good as always. Springer, Reddick, Bregman. I mean, I do like the Houston side of it. Texas, I don't like them today. Except Tavares at 2K. I mean, if you need it. And Calhoun is only 2K?
Yeah.
I mean.
That's the better one, yeah.
I mean, I'll try that. I mean, like that's like the ultimate leverage spot again, which failed yesterday. Same thing, but I would do it again.
Yeah, I still think there's more variance with this McCullers situation than other people do, probably.
That's what I'm saying. So do the same thing that busted for me last night. We can play Gallo again.
Mm-hmm.
Play Gallo. Odor's down to 2,900.
Yeah, I probably would just play the value ones: Odor, Calhoun, Tavares. Maybe not together, but like that's probably what I would do as fillers
Yeah.
where I'm not playing them. I think that makes a lot of sense. And look, the Houston is in a good spot again. Again, great pitchers umpire, so it's not quite as good. I still believe a little bit in Kyle Gibson. I know he's been really bad, but I don't think he's as bad as he's been. I think you can try and pick a couple home runs here for Houston, but I don't think I'm going to be doing the full stack thing on them tonight. They did burn me as I ended up coming around to their stack later last night, but I certainly don't mind it. And by the way, they're so cheap. Maybe I have to reconsider a little bit. I mean, George Springer is a great play. Bregman, even Altuve at 3.4. I mean, I know he's been terrible, but come on. 3.4 is 3.4. Brantley, yeah, I mean, I can get behind these guys. I just don't think that's what I'm going to end up doing tonight. Favorite would be Springer.
Dude, I mean, you look. I mean, just look at this thing. I mean, you can get Cole and DeGrom and these four freaking dudes, and easily fill out this lineup. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no problem. Absolutely, yeah, it's true. And if you wanted
maybe
to get
you're right, Dave, who needs McCullers? You know what I mean? Like, maybe you're right.
I don't think you do need him, but the thing is, he might actually be able to. He's probably the only other pitcher. Well, I guess you could say Singer could have a good game because Detroit can always produce that, but he's probably the only other pitcher that can put like a game up that can match those other guys. So, yeah, definitely makes a lot of sense. But I don't know. For some reason, I always do feel like this with Houston at first, but then by the end of the day, I usually talk myself into a stack. I really wish I hadn't yesterday, but it started off looking good anyway. I don't think I'm going to stack Houston. I just think I'll take shots with certain power against Gibson.
I'm not getting. So you want to go to Cleveland, Chicago?
Yeah.
I'm not getting to either of these pitchers. Hey, at least Lester's under 9K finally. That's moving in the right direction. But still not going to play him, and I'm not going to play Savale either. Cleveland hit. Oh, so here we go. So here's where you're going to find just. Oh my God! So you're going to get maybe Luplow at 2,200.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might get. Well, you can't play him, but.
And Mercado, by the way.
You might get Yu Chang at 2,200 if you want.
Yeah, but that's not he. I mean, I would doubt that he'd be up in the order. And these guys are all to say that they're pinch hit risk.
Oh, Fran Reyes is only 42. Oh, dude, this is. Yeah, so I like these guys. I like Luplow. I like Santana at 3,500. Reyes. I mean, I didn't even look at the expensive guys yet. I mean, but those guys just kind of stand out.
Yeah, I only would look at the expensive guys with the cheap guys if I was going to do a stack. Like I like Lindor and Ramirez fine. I don't want to stack this game. I don't. The wind's not like it's blowing cross. It's cool weather. This is not a spot where you should be. I don't think trying to stack them personally. But their pricing makes you want to because Luplow and Mercado you can do whatever you want after that. And even Roberto Perez at 2.7, but I personally don't find it as my favorite stack. I think that those guys, and then Jose Ramirez is probably one of the best raw points plays in the slate. Even though people don't steal as much on Lester anymore, I promise you, Jose Ramirez will give it a shot if he gets on base.
As will Lindor.
Lindor might, yeah. Ramirez is much more much more of a runner than Lindor is, but yeah. I mean, Mercado and Luplow would be the guys. It's interesting because I don't know which one I need to try and figure out which one would be more likely to be pinch hit for. They both are, but it might just be a random variance. I mean, they're going to be pinch hit for at some point, probably. Maybe not Mercado, actually. So I actually think I might play Mercado at the lower projection, lower owned than Luplow, who's shown some power, but also usually gets 2 at-bats in a game. Although lately, I would say he's had more 3 at-bat games before they lifted him in. And because Lester, I expect to get through some stuff, I expect him to get 3 at-bats in this one probably too. So
I tell you, this is really useful doing it this way because, I mean, I didn't even consider the Cole DeGrom thing when I first talked about this. Mm-hmm. I figured go Cole, McCullers, and find guys to spend up for. But like you said, when we talk about using value in any DFS sport, I mean, you use value for a reason. You use it so that you can get to some hitters that you really, really need and want. But I don't, again, like, and it's so funny. When we first put Cole and DeGrom, I'm like, all right, I guess you need to stack KC in Detroit. And that's the only thing you can do. And now I'm looking and I'm getting all these, I say it kind of lovingly, you got these good players that you've heard of that you can play too. You don't need to go play Jorge Bonifacio even, or whoever else from that freaking game. So
Yeah.
So maybe this is an idea. And, we'll see.
Keep an eye on the weather too. Like, I mean, if the wind starts blowing out for any reason, then you can just jump all over the stack. I'll be totally into it then. And then you got, okay, so we're going to move on to Arizona, LA.
Yeah, sure.
So Arizona, LA, we're going to basically, I mean, are you, like, this is the other thing you could do is I think that there's enough upside to argue for Bundy as being like a GPP play, but I just probably will just pay up for DeGrom and Cole.
I completely agree with that sentiment. I think that you can certainly make the argument for Bundy, but I think you'll lose the argument. You know what I mean? I don't think you need to do that. Any chance you want to play Caleb?
So here's the argument, like, for, I guess, like one thing is Bundy's been better than Cole has been this year, like from a DFS perspective. The strikeout rate's great. The consistency has been terrific, other than he's had one bad game all year, really. I mean, but he's also played like pretty much the cupcakes of cupcakes lineups. And even the tough one that he faces, like Oakland, they're still strikeout happy offense. So other than that one match against Houston when they were missing 3 guys, like, he's basically gotten the cake matchup all year. And he has it again, though. I mean, I don't think there's anything to be too afraid of in Anaheim against these Diamondbacks. I know they had a big night last night. This is not Julio Teheran who's beaten up. I don't mind him as a shot, but I just think I'm going to end up going the other way. And at the same time, I actually really think that you can, like, everybody played Cole Calhoun last night. They're not going to tonight. Bundy does still give up power. So you can play Calhoun, Escobar, Peralta as one-offs, but I don't think that I would look at stacking.
So Walker, Peralta's fine. So here's a guy, again, I literally have never heard of him. Pavin Smith.
Pavin Smith, yeah.
Okay, so
deep dive on him this morning.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and I looked at all of his college and minor league numbers, and
really, is he any good?
Not enough, not any real power to speak of. Nothing exciting at all. Okay. Not a guy who I'd probably look at a different value. I think I don't want to use that first base spot on a guy without too much power.
And
for Jared Walsh on the other side, we just have to mention this kid has been like the hottest player in baseball.
He's incredible.
He's homered 5 out of 6 or 6 out of 7 games. Is that Jesus? It's 7 out of 11, 7 out of 10. Wow, that's pretty wild stuff. I mean, it's a lefty-lefty, but it was lefty-lefty the last 2 of the last 4 games anyway. I like the Angels. I still think Caleb Smith is probably a better than a 5,900 pitcher, but like the Angels against lefties, I'm always going to have interest, even if they struggled last night. And again, I'm going to start off with my guy who's starting to turn it around a little bit. And he hit it one for me last night, and it's Justin Upton. Obviously, it's not been his best year, but does still have the power, still real good against lefties. Trout is so expensive, and it's hard to kind of play him in this. It's just hard, man. It's hard to get to him. Trout, Upton, and Rendon would be the guys you want, but the Rendon and Trout are just so expensive. But maybe it keeps the ownership a little bit down on them. What do you think?
I like Upton, Trout, 6,300. It's just a number. I mean, he's facing Caleb Smith and then the bullpen. I mean, you know what I mean?
The only reason the number matters at all is that even if you use other value, it's mostly going to be in the outfield, and it's hard to.
Yeah.
You know, you've got other really strong plays. Like I had the same issue with Acuna, even in an Atlanta stack where I just was hard to get him in at 5,900. If you want to pay out the pitching, now that also can bring in the argument. But is one hitter enough to where you want to drop down from Cole to McCullers?
Or DeGrom to McCullers?
DeGrom, yeah, either one, yeah. That's the only thing that I'm running into, and I don't feel like it's worth quite that much. One of these guys might hit 3 home runs and prove me wrong tonight.
But the Trout really needs to hit 2 home runs to, you know what I mean, to make you upset that you didn't do it.
Yeah, or everybody else has to do nothing and he hits a home run and steals a base or something. Like, yeah,
But that's a great point you make that the because the three guys I'd want to play are all in the outfield.
Yeah.
And not that I want to play Adele, but he'd like the guy that would like make it work, sort of. And it takes it takes away from where a lot of the other value kind of resides. So it's
exactly
it'd be difficult.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page here, and it's but I do think like if you did want to do it, and if you did it with a cheap, you could do the expensive stack with another cheap stack that we talked about, or something like that, or cheap plays, and you could play Trout, Rendon, Walsh, and Upton, and then
right.
You have one other cheap outfielder. You could use the cheap second baseman, Valleca. You could use, and there you go. There's your 20 some odd hundred. So if you wanted to, if this was your favorite stack, which is not my favorite stack, but if it was, it's doable. It's just not what I'm going to do. And I do think that if you could try and get any of those guys in as one-offs, you're in good shape because, I just think there's a really, really high home run likelihood for each of those three guys.
I presume the Seattle game isn't playing, and if it is, I don't think I'm going to play it.
There's no even total for it. There's not even. It's weird. I don't understand why it's even written on these sheets. Yeah, it's actually been taken off. It's not playing.
Okay.
As of right now, anyway, I don't think it always feels nerve-wracking to say stuff like that these days. But yeah, man, I think this is a pretty, like for me, a pretty straightforward slate in terms of who I want to attack. I just am going to have to wait to see a little bit on the ownership. And we brought up some other good plays. I mean, some of the guys we brought up that I wasn't thinking about as much before. McCullers but I was just sort of going back and forth. Luplow, Mercado, Santana, Upton, the KC guys, Aaron Hicks. These are all really strong plays to go with. Basically, and I hate that, whatever. People hate the term game stack. I like both sides of the game in Baltimore. That's just what I'll say. And, I think I'll basically that's pretty much where I'm at.
Yeah, I don't again, not to go crazy with this, but again, I just for instructional purposes for instructional purposes for the future. I mean, think about doing stuff like if McCullers becomes really popular, to do stuff like Joey Gallo or Calhoun or somebody like that from the Texas side. Just get a little bit of leverage there, but yeah, it's so weird. Like again, when I went into the slate, I said, well, okay, for me, any kind of hitting, I'm going to have to play McCullers or cheaper. But then when I look through it, I mean, like there's really not that many real expensive guys that I need. I mean, like if I wanted to play Trout, like you said, it'd be difficult. You know what I mean? To play these two guys, I mean, you could do it, but if you'd want to, I mean, but how bad? I mean, how much worse are guys like Springer? You know what I mean? Or I don't know. And again, we talked about the Minnesota stack. I don't even think I need to do that. I mean,
I don't think you do either. But I think it was just an option I was throwing out there. But
I think you could stick with the guy. You could play Atlanta's if you want, and then you could play Houston's if you wanted, like the good players, right? Mm-hmm. And if you wanted to do whatever, you could play Baltimore's and then the last thing I will say, again, I'm not going to screw this up again. I'm going to go back to the Yankees at the end of, before I put anything in, and see who's in the lineup and see if I just don't need to play them also.
Yep, I totally understand that. I really feel like, I know I felt this way the last couple of days, and it's been let me down a little bit, but I feel it stronger today. Even I just feel like we're getting that Atlanta explosion. 10 runs is coming from Atlanta side. That's gonna be my bold call. Well, I know Atlanta. Everybody's gonna be on Atlanta. I'll say it's at least a 16-run game between Atlanta and Baltimore today. How about that?
Who do you think's going to be the highest owned like stacks and hitters and stuff today?
It's really interesting to try and figure it out this morning because I would imagine Atlanta, but it's hard to do if you want to do the paying up at pitching unless you do very specific, those specific value plays. But actually, there's a number of the value plays that you can choose from. So whatever it is, you're going to have opportunities to pivot around it. But and if it's Atlanta, like, are people really going to play Freddie Freeman and a lefty-lefty at 5,700? Probably, maybe not. You know what I mean? I do think guys like these guys will be more popular on FanDuel, and guys like Duvall and Riley and Ozuna will be popular, I think. But I still think that you should be playing them, and also even you could throw in what's his name, my guy. I still like Alberto at second base in general, but if you want to go to the bottom of the Atlanta stack, I know Albies is not as good against lefties, but like just keep playing those guys. You can stack them in ways that they're not going to be as chalky tonight, in my opinion. But I'm guessing that Atlanta will be popular. I'm guessing the Yankees will be popular somewhat. And I'm guessing that the Angels, well, I don't know about the Angels, but
Houston for sure.
And I guess Houston, but like I don't know, but I don't feel 100% confident in that. And then I think you'll get certain KC bats in there as well. It might be a little bit mixed tonight. And by the way, when it's all mixed like this, sometimes my old feeling is sort of, why don't we just go back to the team that has all this power?
Who's that?
That's the White Sox. Like,
okay.
And it's just like, I know we don't want to get into too many stacks, but I would still rate Atlanta 1, and I like Baltimore on the other side for the value. So I'm not saying they're my second favorite scoring stack, but they're my second stack that I'm using. And then you've got the White Sox, just with this immense power and really high prices where it's hard to get in, so you can use the value with them. But maybe people will sort of avoid them because Odorizzi's got some, is pretty good. But the White Sox just have power. Like, I mean, I don't know. There's no stack that screams you have to have me to me except for Atlanta. But if everyone else is feeling the same thing, I might switch over to a White Sox or to I'm a little lower on Houston tonight, but I do like parts. I do think that they're a good like 2-man. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I think it's going to be a little bit spread in like the 15 to 20% range amongst those teams.
I think I know where I'm going to end up. So I mean, again, so I'm looking at like kind of my list and I rank them by whatever. And again, the way I kind of look at things, I'm like, okay, this is what I see. So I'm no genius. I'm sure a lot of people are going to see the same thing, right? So this is probably where the ownership goes. So I really see that's going to be really concentrated with the Atlanta and the Houston. Again, it depends on who plays for the Yankees. I'm just presuming nobody's playing yet, but Atlanta and Houston, and aside from the White Sox, the other team that we mentioned that I probably will end up, just because you could make it work with so many pieces, I might end up with Cleveland after all this.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, if they're low, you know what I mean? I had to keep double checking my ownerships and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it makes some sense to me. And also, you could always find other ways to pivot too. If you really like a stack, look, you can play Tyler Flowers instead of Travis d'Arnaud at significantly lower ownership if he's in fact in the lineup tonight, and they're similar prices. That's what I would do.
Okay.
Just take the little bit of the slightly not as quite as good a play and go that way.
Do you notice anything different on FanDuel than DraftKings? I don't know if you looked at FanDuel that much.
Yeah, I've looked at it a little bit. I think that I'm just struggling with the main thing I'm struggling with is the DeGrom Cole thing, and just which one to choose. Maybe over there you could, like, I know it's we talked about how it's a bad umpire and I'm not as into Giolito, but I don't mind taking a shot at him at 9,600. You're gonna get a pretty significant savings there. I still think I'm probably just paying up for one of these guys though.
Yeah, I like Cole the most over there of the big guys, and I find myself doing this. Maybe it's just bad. I find myself playing guys like SP2s on DraftKings on FanDuel, like McCullers and stuff like that. Maybe that's not bad.
I mean, McCullers is not necessarily always a number. Like, he's cheap enough. I mean, if you really think he's going to get the pitches, like against this Texas team, he's got massive upside. So does Dylan Bundy, by the way. He's just a little bit more expensive. But yeah, I wouldn't mind if you wanted to pivot to Giolito, McCullers, or Bundy. But I personally think I'm probably going with DeGrom or Cole, and I can probably differentiate my lineups enough.
See, because like on FanDuel, when I'm looking at it, is that I can get not these cheap, but you could play the Angels a little bit, like you could play Trout if you want,
yeah.
And you could also then maybe Kepler at 2,800. You make the Minnesota work a little bit better over there. See, like Atlanta, it's so funny. Like Atlanta and Houston don't like stand out to me. As a matter of fact, on FanDuel, I don't even like Houston at all. I don't think.
Yeah, the prices make you want to go the other way, which again just makes me want to play the Atlanta part more, though.
Right.
But I do think the Atlanta does have. I'm pretty sure they have some cheap options here. I'm going to just take one quick look because I think it's kind of important. But yeah, the Braves. Duvall is reasonable at 3K. They're all going to have some price. Austin Riley's super cheap at 2,600. I would go that route for sure. I'm curious where Albies will end up in the lineup. He's expensive. Dansby Swanson at 3,400. They're all reasonable. They're expensive, but they're not like out of this world. What you might want to do also maybe you get really different. Let's say Flowers is in the lineup tonight, and maybe you play him as one of your first base spots with your Atlanta stack, or maybe you play d'Arnaud there. That's not going to be as popular. That just get a little different that way. That's all you got to do. You don't need to go for everything. You can still pick your favorite stack and just make 1v1 pivots and get a much, much lower owned version of that stack.
All right, you want to give some calls? You want to just wrap it up and come back?
My big one is the 16 runs, the home runs of the day for me. I'm going to say, I'll just name 3 guys. Austin Riley,
Wow. Okay.
Ryan Mountcastle, and I'm going to go with a really Hanser Alberto.
Okay. So I will go. Aside from Buxton, I can't play because I don't know if he's going to be in the lineup, so we won't do him. I'll go back with leverage. I'll go back with Joey Gallo. I'll go 2 more. I will go with fine. I'll go with Aaron Hicks. And I guess I'll chalk it up a little bit. I'll go with Ozuna.
I like it. You did a little bit with both Hicks and Ozuna. That's okay. I like both those guys too, and they're both in my first build, so I'm fine with it.
Okay.
All right, man. All right. Hey, good job, guys. We'll be back at 3:30 Eastern every day on QLTV. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and please like the videos. We always appreciate it. Thanks so much for tuning in. Good luck tonight. We'll see you at the top of the leaderboards.